Those days felt so much better when I didn't believe in ghosts. Life was simpler, lighter. I was just a guy trying to survive, trying to find a job, any job to support my family. After weeks of rejection and running low on money, I finally landed one. It wasn't glamorous or high-paying, but it was something. A small roadside hotel was hiring a night shift receptionist. The moment I heard night shift, I hesitated, but desperation has a way of crushing hesitation. I took the job. It was one of those small, somewhat forgotten hotels built on the side of a lonely highway, not completely abandoned, but not busy either, just in between. The kind of place travelers check into late at night when they're too tired to keep driving. My shift started at 11 p.m. and ended at 7 in the morning. Honestly, I didn't want to work nights. The thought of being alone in a place like that through the darkest hours wasn't appealing, but I had no other option. I told myself it's just a job. Sit at the front desk, stay awake, be polite to guests. How hard could it be? The first night felt long, painfully long. The lobby was bright enough. White lights, beige tiles, a few plants that looked plastic. A large glass entrance door faced the highway, and I made it a habit to lock it as soon as the day staff left. There was a bell outside in case any guest arrived late. There was also a small common area with a sofa and some magazines no one ever touched. The breakfast area was behind a narrow door on the right. It was cramped and cold. Another door on the left led to the swimming pool. That hallway was the worst, bare, undecorated, and oddly quiet, like it didn't belong in the same building. I sat behind the reception counter, staring at the clock, feeling the weight of each passing minute. There were rarely any guests at night, and most were asleep upstairs. That silence, it was deafening. Just the quiet hum of the ceiling fan and an occasional gust of wind outside. The hours dragged on. I kept my laptop open, pretending to work, but in reality I just stared at random pages, fighting sleep. After my shift, I'd prepare a simple breakfast setup, cups, tea bags, slices of bread, and leave. I'd walk out as the sun rose, and that moment, the feeling of stepping into daylight, always made me feel alive again. But as each night passed, something inside me changed. A kind of heaviness grew. It wasn't just boredom or sleep deprivation, it was fear, a strange kind of fear I couldn't explain. It started around my third or fourth shift. By then, I was still adjusting to the sleep cycle. Around 3 a.m., my eyes grew heavier, my head nodded forward. Eventually, I gave in. I don't know how long I slept, maybe 10 minutes, maybe more, but I was jolted awake by the sound of the doorbell. I sprang up, heart pounding, and rushed through the door. But when I looked through the glass, there was no one there. The road outside was empty. The wind rustled a few dried leaves, but that was it. I stood there, confused, waiting, but no one showed up. I tried to convince myself maybe someone had rung the bell and left quickly. Still, it bothered me. I could have gotten in trouble if it was a real guest. So I hurried to the breakfast area and made myself the strongest cup of coffee I could. I told myself I wouldn't sleep again. I'd stay alert. I was wide awake now anyway. But maybe 30 minutes later the bell rang again. This time I didn't even wait. I dashed to the door. Nothing. Again, no one. Not a soul outside. I even stepped out to check, but there was only darkness. My stomach twisted. It didn't feel right. This wasn't a prank. Who would drive all the way to this lonely place just to mess with the receptionist at 4 a.m.? After that, the bell didn't ring again that night. Days passed. I got better at staying up. My body started adjusting. Surprisingly, my manager praised me for my dedication. He was impressed and even left a good review with HR. I felt a little proud. That's when he added a new task, cleaning the pool area after setting up the breakfast tables. I didn't mind. More work meant time passed faster. But what he didn't tell me was how awful the pool area was at night. That room, the swimming pool hall, was huge but poorly lit. There were only 4 weak bulbs fixed in the corners, casting faint yellow light that barely reached the floor. The pool water looked black at night, like an endless pit. The walls echoed my footsteps, and the silence was unsettling. I tried to do the job quickly, just wipe down chairs, collect any towels, straighten the benches. But I always felt like I wasn't alone in there, like something, or someone, was watching me from the shadows. One night, while cleaning, I thought I heard a splash. I froze. I wasn't near the pool yet. I stood still, holding my breath. Nothing. No movement, no sound. Maybe my mind was playing tricks on me. I walked closer, eyes scanning the water. That's when I saw something, or thought I did. There was a ripple in the water, a small one, like someone had dipped their hand in. I backed away, heart racing. I didn't hear any further sounds, but I couldn't bring myself to go near the pool that night. I left the room, switched off the lights, and returned to the lobby. I told myself it was just water settling. Pools do that sometimes, right? A week later, the bell rang again. This time, it wasn't the same. It was more urgent, like someone was pounding the bell rapidly. I ran to the door and looked out. No one. Again. But this time, I didn't open the door. I stepped back slowly. Something in me told me not to. I stood there for several minutes, eyes fixed on the entrance, barely breathing. And then, something strange happened. The lobby lights flickered. Just once, but they did. A quick, sharp flicker. I turned to look up at the ceiling light, and when I looked back at the door, there were fingerprints on the glass. Long, smeared prints, as if someone had dragged their hand across the outside of the door. But there was no one there. I didn't clean those prints. I just sat behind the counter, watching the door for the rest of the night. When the day staff came, I mentioned it to one of the housekeepers. She didn't seem surprised. She just said quietly, "Things like that happen sometimes." What did that mean? Later that day, I asked an older staff member, a cook named Asif, if he knew anything about the place. He hesitated at first, but eventually said, "This hotel used to be a rest house for truckers. Long time ago. Some said it was haunted even back then. A driver once drowned in the pool. People say they hear him walking at night." I didn't want to believe it, but the pieces started fitting. The splashes, the doorbell, the handprints. The nights felt colder after that. One night, I was cleaning the breakfast area when I saw movement in the reflection of the glass coffee machine. A figure, pale, standing near the pool hallway. I turned quickly. No one. But the hallway light was on. I was sure I had turned it off earlier. I walked slowly toward it. The air felt different, heavy. I stepped into the hallway and I heard breathing. Not mine. It was deep, slow, and very close. I turned and ran, all the way to the front desk. I didn't move from that spot until sunrise. My manager still praises me for doing a great job. But he doesn't know I spend the nights counting seconds, staring at shadows, and praying for morning. There's something wrong with this place, something that lives in the quiet, something that watches. And I think it knows I know,